A jury never got to weigh in on Bryan Kohberger's guilt or innocence, but anybody with eyes and ears could see this was an open and shut case against him, and nonetheless, the prosecutor decided to offer life without, well, not even life without the possibility of parole. Matt Murphy was pointing this out. He did not get life without. The deal was that he'd get 4 consecutive life sentences, but he's pointing out that that actually means the guy could potentially get parole at some point down the line. In any event, Kohberger is now officially, he's pleaded guilty. And now we're learning a little bit more from people who knew him.
Jack Bayless met Bryan Kohberger in 8th grade when the two of them ran with a group of boys in this neighborhood near Albrightsville, Pennsylvania.
I want to say he wanted to be a cop since he was young.
I used to be friends with Bryan Kohberger. Again, after the whole heroin incident, I didn't know that he was literally making me drive to get him heroin until Brendan told me. So I messaged him a pretty rotten message just because I was pissed. I didn't know there was fucking heroin in my car. But this was, again, 2013. I was 2 years, graduated from high school. He then said he was in rehab. He would randomly message me after that. This is him mentioning he wanted to study criminal justice. Again, back in 2013, he was already hoping to do that, and then that obviously fell through because he said he went to rehab. But apparently he went back at it, and again, in 2017, that's when it seemed like everything was fine and he was doing great for himself. So it was kind of crazy that this fucking happened. But yeah, this is also talking about, hanging out with Bryan, chilling with them, and then Brandon said they're like not friends anymore, and this happened a lot because of what he was doing, his addiction, and he had some anger issues. I know he did kickboxing to kind of help with that, but
What kind of teenager was he?
He was pretty normal. He was definitely heavier set, and that caused issues in school.
And I would ask him to stop, or I'd say, "What are you doing?" And he would be like, I'm not tickling you. And he would get very serious. I proceeded to pretend to throw up in the bathroom, hoping that, it would gross him out and he would leave. He had messaged me on Tinder and said that he was leaving and that he had a good time and that he would message me later. And then about an hour later, he messaged me and he said that I had good birthing hips, and I just never messaged him back after that.
He was pretty strict as far as grading goes. When he came into class, he was very, not super mentally present. He would stand up at the front, look at the ground. He had a lot of boilerplate responses he would give people rather than, maybe something he had thought up on the spot. It seemed like he would be, he'd come in knowing what he was going to say to most interactions. And then when he would grade your papers, he would be grading you on what he ended up calling a higher standard, but what it really felt like to us was he was grading us like he would have graded himself as a PhD student.
Bryan seemed like he was on the knife's edge between exhaustion and burnout, and at the time it was extremely difficult to tell which was which.
this is Brandon, the one I was just talking about. It's his wife, Brianna, that's me. This was back in 2017. Obviously, that's Bryan. Still has the dead face that it's the eyes. I don't know.
Have you ever heard Bryan Kohberger's alleged rap song from 2011? So he would have been 17 years old. And it was under the name Exxar. And if that sounds familiar, it's because on a website, a blog called tuppertalk.com, Bryan Kohberger had a username called Exxar, spelled that same way, those with visual snow.
If this were him, well, he's saying he's dealing with anxiety, poor self-image, poor social skills, and most of all, no emotions. And for him, he's understanding that this isn't normal, and he's thinking about it. It's a concern for him. Then he says, when I get home, I am mean to my family. This started when the BS did. So you have to wonder, is this a medical state along with a psych state that he's starting to have these issues? It begins around the same time as the visual snow. That's where one sees static constantly in most cases. Then he said, I felt no emotion along with depersonalization. And he says,
Always the same thing that disrupts my life. Wonder when I'll change. I guess when the time is right. Procrastinating minds arranged to change would be a fight. So I'm pacifist, like I'm afraid to get a bloody fist. Look at this, my mind is pissed and I keep running. Why is this? When I hit it, always lose them stunning. Always gentle giant, no defiance, all build an alliance. And still think that I am peasant. I stuck in the future, but I'm never looking at the fucking present. Keep it up, act like you're all that. Here's a cookie too and a present. Led from a desert eagle, deagles going louder than my motherfucking beagle. And your life you get no sequel. Leave your loved ones crying like some seagulls. You are not my equal, you are evil, but I'm feeble. And now I'm going regal. Don't fuck with us. You learn a lesson. Exxar music.
He continued with, as I hug my family, I look into their faces and I see nothing. It's like I'm looking at a video game, but less.
Kohberger, we believe, was posting right after the murders under a name called Papa Rodger online. He wasn't posting as Bryan Kohberger, but Papa Rodger.
I see so many beautiful blonde-haired, just so many beautiful blonde-haired girls walking around everywhere. In your revealing shorts, your cascading blonde hair, your pretty faces. I'm still a virgin. I've never had the pleasure of having sex with a girl.
What do you make of that? Those parallels are pretty disturbing.
Yeah, well, there's your motive. I mean, unless someone else comes forward and said that's their page, then I think it is a strong assumption that that is Kohberger's page. It's so interesting, serial killers, how they just want to relive this. I mean, he went back to the scene of the crime after he committed the murders. I mean, why do you do that when that can get you caught? Because that's what serial killers, that's what murders do. And that's apparently what happened here when he was revisiting it in trying to put out evidence that the public didn't even know at the time. So yes, this goes a long way to explaining what happened. Also, remember, this guy was a devotee of serial killers. This guy was a doctoral student in criminology. So
you have got to check out this chilling video posted online by Bryan Kohberger about a month before the murders took place.
There's Rodger, the Elliot Rodger. He stabbed to death his first 3 victims inside a home. Then he shot 2 women dead outside of the sorority house Alpha Phi, targeting the house because he said the sorority sisters were the hottest in college. Kohberger's victims were all part of a Greek life, and Gonsalves, Kaylee Gonsalves, was in Alpha Phi. Elliot Rodgers railed against a woman named Maddie in his manifesto. Kohberger is believed to have chosen Maddie Mogan as his main target.
Do you think, Josh, that Bryan Kohberger is Papa Rodger, who showed up in those crime discussion groups after the murders?
Until someone else stands up and says that it was them, absolutely. I don't see any reason to say that it wasn't him. The pseudonym Papa Rodgers in connection with Elliot Rodgers makes a lot of sense, especially if he did idolize him as, the king of the incel community and wanted to do it, even better, or pay homage to his name and what he had done in the past. And I haven't seen anything online or anywhere that says that he isn't, or definitively that he is. So it's all speculative, of course, right now. But it would not surprise me in the slightest if, to relive that high, he entered that community just to feel everything that he felt that night again.
One of his classmates has come out and said when they were at DeSales University, that was the one in Pennsylvania, one of the most depraved killers they studied was a guy named Elliot Rodger. And in 2014, this guy, Elliot Rodger, had killed 6, wounded another 13 in a violent rampage near the University of California, Santa Barbara before turning the gun on himself. Okay, take down that picture. That's disturbing. 2 of Kohberger's former classmates told the Daily Mail they recalled learning about Rodger in class, including his warped 137-page manifesto laying out his incel motive. Incel being involuntarily celibate, a guy who's never had action with a woman, very angry about it. We believe that's the case for Bryan Kohberger. A hatred of women, and writing that a former friend named Maddie, okay, still on the Elliot Rodger case, a former friend named Maddie had eventually come to represent everything I hate and despise. They write, now chilling parallels have been drawn between Kohberger and that guy Elliot Rodger, which, coupled with a curiously named social media account called Papa Rodger, have fueled questions as to whether he was inspired by his classes about the incel killer to carry out his own mass murder.
Then in 2020, he wrote an essay for one of his classes, How to Cover Your Tracks at a Crime Scene. And so he wrote about how to wear fiber-free clothing, gloves and overalls and boots and so on, to not leave your DNA and not leave your fingerprints. Well, he must not have paid attention to his own essay very well, because in fact he did leave DNA on the knife sheath that he used. But it's one thing to learn about things that you're supposed to do in criminology classes, and it's another thing when you're at the crime scene and you're panicking and only have a certain amount of time to commit the crime. 4 deaths, 4 murders in a very short amount of time. They're thinking 15 minutes.
So in January of 2014, he reached out to Casey. We just saw the screenshots of the messages, the one that drove him around, and then asked how college was going. And she said she was very stressed out over school projects. He replied, be proud, you're making something of yourself. I'm not, haha. He told her that life after rehab was dull.
He was creepy, he was weird, he was, I think at the time, morbidly obese, and then would become a heroin addict. So really not like probably the most popular kid in school. And this Dr. Lieberman positing that the rejection delivered in a possibly public humiliating way may have planted the first seeds of rage. And that young woman looks remarkably like Maddie Mogan. To me, it's so interesting because unfortunately, they let this case go to, be pled out without ever forcing him to tell us his motive. But now it seems like we're getting closer to piecing it together.
Video I mentioned earlier from the food truck that caught both Maddie and Kaylee. Moscow Police Chief James Fry says the Twitch video stream is helping give them the time and space of where the 2 girls were leading up to their deaths.
Hello. Hi. Welcome back.
In this live stream from the Grub Truck, you see the girls walk into the frame and up to the food truck. It appears they're with a young man, the one in the hat and dark jacket. Here you can see him put his hood on. He hangs back several feet behind the girls as they order from the food truck. He then follows Kaylee and Maddie after they order and stands right next to them. It looks like he never ordered any food, but you can see him talking to other people there. Several minutes later, the girls grab their food, take a picture, laugh and talk to each other, and quickly walk away. One of the people the young man is talking to points out that the girls left. He throws up his hand, waits a moment, and then appears to walk after them. You see him wave at the girls and then walk a separate direction. This recording shows all 3 are at the food truck for about 10 minutes, and police say Kaylee and Madison were home just minutes later, by about 1:45.
Wow. Yeah, bro. Check this out. Dude, it wasn't even me until I came out here. But now I'm here.
Man, sometimes I feel so alone. Big oof.
Hold up. Ring, ding, 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 ding. Are you a fellow Chunkus fan?
Wait, you like Big Chunkus? Epic Chunkus moment.
Poggers.
Then he says, I'm blank. I have no opinion. I have no emotion. I have nothing.